Hey everybody, welcome to G4G on YouTube. Today we are in Wrath. No, we're not in Wrath. We're going to talk about potentially Wrath of the Lich King. We're in World of Warcraft. And before I get to the meat of this particular video, there's two things that I want to go ahead and talk about. One, I hope that everybody is doing well in light of COVID-19, which stands for coronavirus disease number 19. If you are quarantined, hopefully you are not going particularly stir crazy, and if you are and this video helps you be less bored, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you are untouched by the virus personally, with people in your family, and directly that you yourself are not sick. The second thing that I wanted to go ahead and talk about is tune into the channel on Thursday night of this week. It is now March 29th. So in just several days on Thursday, tune into the channel as we will have a Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux reveal on Thursday night. So now, let's get into the meat of the video, and that is the clamping down of this information was not very good, and it has been released. People are beginning to talk about it. People know about it. But surveys are going out from Blizzard saying, would you like a revamped TBC? So for the purpose of this video, I will refer to a re-release of TBC as either revamped or quote-unquote classic TBC, as opposed to modern TBC, which is what you're living with on live now. So surveys have gone out and said, hey, would you play a revamped TBC if it came out? And I think it also asked, like, how would you like to handle characters for it? We'll get to that. And the next question is, okay, if they do a classic TBC, would they also do a classic Wrath? Could that be in the cards? And then the final question in this chain is, do they go further than classic Wrath and ever do a classic Cataclysm? I want to answer the easiest one first. Would there ever be a classic Cataclysm? No. I really don't think there ever would be. I give that a less than 5% chance of happening, because classic refers to a world prior to the cataclysmic destruction that we went through, the landmass changes, the barons being split, everything that Cataclysm brought upon the back of Deathwing, essentially. That is why we have classic right now, is so that you can return to the world that is untouched by Deathwing springing out of the ground and ruining everything. Yes, it is also about the experience of being back in vanilla again with those talent trees and that level of difficulty and crazy gearing and everything like that, but it also is a world not spoiled by Deathwing. Classic Cataclysm, quote unquote, wouldn't even be the right name for it, because Cataclysm is what defines things as AD and BC in the world of World of Warcraft. So yeah. Will there be a classic Wrath of the Lich King? My answer to that is, if they're going to do a classic TBC, they can do a classic Wrath, and they should do it. The reason being is that is the high point expansion of World of Warcraft. That is the expansion where the numbers were the highest. That is the expansion where more people probably came into the game than had ever been in the game before, to the level that there was a stigma attributed to those people in Wrath of the Lich King, and they were called Wrath babies. Now, Wrath, aside from having that pejorative, I just saw a chest over there, that pejorative or negative term Wrath, clearly, the positives outweigh the negatives so much for it. And it was a expansion that made World of Warcraft talked about in other MMOs. If you went and played another MMO at that time, people talked about Wrath as much as they talked about the actual game that you were playing. Now you might say, Napalm, where's your proof in this? How do you know that? Like, I don't necessarily know that I believe that. That sounds like fake news to me. I can tell you from my experience in Rift that everything was World of Warcraft in the general channels, especially references to Wrath Babies and how Cataclysm was sort of fixing that. World of Warcraft was on everybody's tongue. It was very much the name of an MMO was in your mouth, no matter what MMO you were playing. And Rift, I played Rift seriously. It was the only other MMO outside of World of Warcraft that I played to a level cap, that I played seriously. I got into a guild. I was going to raid because Rift to me was a giant experiment. It was the experiment of, was I a capable MMO player? World of Warcraft is not a fair assessment of it. I'm a raid leader. I'm a guild leader. I'm a main tank. Can I actually be a good player if I'm not protected by my station in life? And that's the last rare that I need. I didn't get to find out, because even though I did get into a guild, and even though I was going to raid on a day that didn't interfere with my WoW rating, the LFR queue dropped before I could ever raid, and I was like, oh, you mean I can take care of all my ults now? My ults? I don't need to shoehorn them into a guild raid or something like that, which is something I never do. I actually vehemently oppose it. Oh well, sorry Rift, your $10 a month subscription now stops, because this is before it was free to play. And I bailed on Rift before I could ever step foot in a raid, and I never got the answer to that question. To be honest, I should be fair with myself. I already know the answer to it. If I was a terrible raid leader, or guild leader, or main tank, my guild wouldn't have been alive since 2004. And still existing today with its hundreds and hundreds of members. So, yeah, I guess I don't really need the experiment for it. But Wrath, I think they could do it. I think they could do Wrath. I think they should do Wrath if they wind up doing a re-released or revamped TBC. I think they would be stupid not to. And I've answered the question many times before, would I go back and play Classic? And the answer was no. I have my memories of Classic. They're fond memories. They're great memories. They are the memories of a game that transitioned me from a FPSer to an MMO person. It taught me a lot. There's a lot of great experiences that I have. But they're memories that are nice to open a book and visit. I don't want to relive them again. Especially the slog of a 0 through 60. And, hey man, I'm honest. My first two characters who got epic mounts, I bought gold for it. Later on, I had the gold to purchase them. And of course, I had a warlock who essentially earned her mounts and everything like that. But yeah, you can't buy gold now in this day and age and feel confident about it. I have not bought gold in well over a decade at this point because it's untrustworthy. Back in vanilla, it was, and I think you also got a fair shake for it at the time. But I don't want to, I don't want to try and get an epic mount now after 0 to 60. And do that whole slog. Would I love to be handed a 60 that could get into a group and do an Undead Stratholme or Skullomance Or in Ubers with a bunch of people that I know? Yeah, I would do that. A Sunken Temple run to experience the shitty basement one more time, or the statue puzzles. Sure. Moradon. You know, purple Moradon, orange Moradon, inner Moradon. Yeah, I would do that again once, and then I would be done with it. I don't particularly want to raid Molten Core. I would maybe want to raid CG again, and maybe AQ20, but that's about it. Just once. I don't want to farm it. Just once for the experience. Full clear, and be done. Bye-bye. Same goes true for me in TBC. I don't want to raid TBC. I definitely spent some time raiding all the way up to High John Black Temple in TBC. Those attunements, Jesus Christ, TBC's attunements were just awful. They were so bad. You attuned for the heroics in there and everything, and it was just too much. And that's where WoW came away from that, and how WildStar was allowed to exist, because WildStar brought it back and said, do you want that classic dick slapping in the cabinet experience? Well, come to WildStar. We've got that for you. Meanwhile, we were hitting Wrath and Cataclysm, where there weren't attunements like that anymore, because they were artificial gates that started to annoy people, and TBC was just so bad with it. Attune to get into the heroic, which would give you the key to go over there, which gives you the piece that gets you into the Black Morass, which then gets you into Karazhan, which then gets you into Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon, and then you had to get the vials from Kale and Lady Vosh to get into Black Temple, and then Hyjal, and I mean, it was just, yeah, it was too much, and people got tired of it, and that's why you didn't really have it in Wrath, although you had to do next to get to Malagos. But I wouldn't do a TBC. TBC is still much like vanilla, a slog version of World of Warcraft, and I mean, it's somewhat refreshed in my memory because of Warlords of Draenor. It's an alternate timeline of TBC, but it still is TBC in a lot of ways. I just, the pain of the Netherwing dailies and the Shatara dailies, running around Blade's Edge Mountain prior to flying, the zone with Black Temp, Shadow Moon Valley before flying, although being a druid I got to fly 2 levels early. Those dungeons, farming Anzu and getting the all the stuff to do Anzu and the stuff to fly, or the druid flight form, the mushrooms, and yeah, I don't think I could live through TBC or want to level through TBC again. Wrath, though, Wrath I would, if I could open up a revamped Wrath, a classic Wrath of the Lich King, and have a 70 waiting for me. Not even a 58 Death Knight, because that means I still have to go through Outland again, and I've done an Outlands run on a Death Knight to level them before. If I could have a 70 of a class that I wanted, and start the Wrath experience from a starting zone, pick Howling Fjord or pick the Tundra, and go in there and do it, yeah, I would do a classic Wrath on the side, not to raid or to be in a guild, just to level, hear that music again, hear the stories and the lore, have to deal with Arthas haunting you through the entire expansion as one of the most well-written villains in Warcraft's history. It's a very, very memorable expansion to me, because it's where I met my girlfriend, it's where we started to enjoy each other's company, and we were super active together in Wrath and Cataclysm, and, you know, we are now here in Battle for Azeroth, and we had a few expansions where we just couldn't be both active at the same time and everything, but yeah, Wrath has got a lot of memories for me, and just like close, get me out of combat and fucking close.
Seems to have activated
Holy
with the
shit.
demise of the Guardians. I fear what we
Stupid
may
loot
find
window
within.
wouldn't go away. Yeah, I would do a Wrath again if I could just drop in and go. TBC and vanilla, no. So now the next question that we want to really deal with over here is how will they handle a TBC transition from the classic vanilla servers? What would, you know, how would they handle that? Well, for one, hardware-wise, I think they would have to poll people, really only classic people, not live, classic people, and say, how many of you would transfer up to TBC if we made it available? And then extrapolate data from that to determine how many of the vanilla servers, if they don't add new ones, if they have a finite number of servers, how many vanilla servers should they bother bringing over to TBC servers? Once they get that data, you know, maybe 50% of them, maybe 60, maybe 40, whatever, then you have to figure out, well, how are you going to get TBC characters? Or what's the logistics of that? Well, for one, I think that if you are playing Classic and you're on a server that they designate as coming up to TBC, you should be allowed a free transfer off the server. I think, honestly, if you're on a server that is forced going to TBC and you just want vanilla, you should be able to have 2 transfers, honestly, for free, and then the rest are paid. If you're on a server that is staying classic, but you want to play TBC, I think you should be entitled to 1 free server transfer to a TBC server. Now the question is, how do you get TBC characters? Do you, aside from the transfers, like, what else would you do? Would you make prefabs at 58? Similar to how the World of Warcraft betas and alphas work, where there's a template character that you just pick, and you start at 58 and you cross the Dark Portal, because yes, you may have forgotten, you can start questing in Hellfire at 58. It is not a forced 60. You know, have templated characters where you can just walk through the portal and begin questing, or transfer, or if you've never played any classic vanilla, would you be forced into leveling 1 to 70 in order to experience TBC? I hope that they don't do that forced 1 to 70 thing. No way in a million years, if I wanted to play TBC content, would I want to level to get there. Now, if I was playing Classic and I already had a leg up in the game and had to, you know, had the ability to ignore the 1 to 60 component of it, yeah,
what a shame.
I could see myself just dropping. Are you not shoulders? Thank you. Yeah, I could see myself. Oh, I can't use the mount out here. This is stupid. I'm clearly outside and I cannot use my damn cell mount. Yeah, I would transition into TBC if I wanted to do it, if I already had a 60. If I had to start at 1, no way in hell would I want to do it. TBC is still the very, very old style of WoW. It's To me, it's a block that fits with vanilla. If you want to use Magic the Gathering's block style, where certain Magic the Gathering expansions were clustered, and this is a Maraudon block, this is a Odyssey block, this is a Guilds of Ravenka block or something, I consider vanilla and TBC very much to be a block together. Wrath is a different block. Wrath is a different game from the two expansions that came before it. So, do I hope that they do a revamped TBC or a classic TBC? Sure. I think if they get the data that shows that there is a desire for it, do it. The fact that they're putting out this survey is a good thing, because if you remember, when it came to having classic vanilla servers, the desire was out there. You had private servers where you could go and play classic, and some of them even have modified classic where, like, you could play as, oh, that looks like a mount, doesn't it? I almost thought that was a mount. You could play, you know, modified forms of vanilla where you could be like an ogre or maybe a naga or something like that. I never did a private server. But Blizzard famously said, you think you want it, but you don't. And then we said, no, we do. Hey, would you listen? Knowing that they eventually listened and gave us classic vanilla, maybe they're realizing, okay, maybe we could do a classic TBC. Maybe people want that. And I think they would be right in doing so, provided they left some people some way to just continue playing classic vanilla. For the people who that's all they ever wanted was classic vanilla, and they never wanted anything more, and they never wanted to be Horde with Paladins, and they never wanted to be Alliance with Shaman, and there was that patch where cross-faction gear was dropping, even if you couldn't use it. I mean, you could be Horde and Molten Core, and you would be getting Paladin gear and everything like that. You could be like, damn, I don't want this Paladin chip. Nobody could use it. It's a Paladin set. It's not even like the Warrior could use it. As long as they allowed people to still experience the classic games the way they want, sure. Bring out the TBC. And if you're gonna bring out the TBC, definitely fucking bring out Classic Wrath. But then stop. There's no need to go beyond Wrath. On the other side of Wrath is the slope of the bell curve. It's when it goes downhill from there. I don't think they need to do it. I mean, a classic Cataclysm just doesn't make sense. A classic Mop, I don't think makes any sense either, because that's where you have talent tree changes. I mean, Wrath of the Lich King, you could still hit this and still see great talents sitting there, fun talents, fun builds, varieties of builds and everything like that. Not this cookie cutter shit. So yeah, I do truly hope that they get TBC out there if the data supports it. If they do TBC, then yes, proceed to Wrath. If they proceed to Wrath, stop there. Don't go any further. Just pump the brakes and sit on it, and then focus on Live and nothing more, or World of Warcraft 2. But yeah, so if you see the survey, answer it. Answer it honestly. Realize that your answers may have the possibility of creating a classic TBC servers out there. When do I think they could do this? Well, I think they need to make sure at least 60% of the raiding population of vanilla has cleared Naxx. Otherwise, they're just repeating mistakes. If they drop TBC so early that people aren't done with Classic, they're just shooting themselves in the foot all over again, which is just idiotic. They need to make sure that enough people have cleared Naxx first, and then they need to make sure they leave some vanilla servers left so that if it's a really slow and casual guild and maybe they're in an axe but haven't cleared it, they can stay there until they've accomplished everything they want, and then maybe as a whole group guild, they can move on to a TBC server when they're damn good and ready for it. So yeah, that's especially where you want to make sure if you're forcing people off your server because it's going to be a TBC one, give people 2 transfers for free and then start charging for it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the whole ordeal over here. Is there a mount? There is no mount. There is no mount. Damn it. My girlfriend and I farmed this boss a lot for that mount, and we have yet to see it. Believe it or not, there was a night a long time ago where we did Tempest Keep and Ashes of Alar drop. She got it. We went over to Karazhan, and literally the next boss was a Tumen, and then Tumen dropped the mount. Back to back rare mount drops. So crazy. We've never had that luck since then. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the matter. Do I think they should do a TBC? Sure. Should they proceed into Wrath? If they do TBC, oh, absolutely, 100% yes. Should they go beyond Wrath? No. I do not believe they should go beyond Wrath and go into Cataclysm. Should they allow people to stay in Classic Vanilla if they do Classic TBC? Yes. I think they need to appropriately divide up the servers to make sure that there is enough to handle the appropriate... That's a pretty sword. The appropriate load, and make sure that people who want to stay playing vanilla have a place to be, and that the people who want to come up to TBC can. And, you know, more power to everybody who wants to do that and come up to TBC. I wouldn't be caught dead in TBC, honestly. It's very maybe Terracar. I maybe would like to quest in Terracar again, but not Hellfire, not Zanger Marsh, not Blade's Edge. Just maybe Terracar, not Shadow Moon Valley. Nagrand is pretty, and as somebody who has a lot of Tauren, I kind of consider Nagrand my people. But Terracar and Nagrand is about the only thing I could stomach in TBC, and nothing more. And God, not those instances, and not the fucking attunement for those instances, and the rep, and no. So, anyway, guys, that's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? How do you feel about a potential Classic TBC? And if they do Classic TBC, can they do a Classic Wrath? Should they do a Classic Wrath? And which one of these two would you actually play, if you could? Would you play TBC if you could have a template? Would you play Wrath if you could have a template character? Let me know what you think. Have a good one, guys.